Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Berin Parry, your natural medicine doctor, always looking after your health. And we are going to be talking about the menopause today. This workshop has been a long time coming. We've discussed it several times, and I'm delighted to be able to work with you on it today. There are going to be several workshops. I call this the introductory workshop. And then there's going to be one which is much more about the protocols, in-depth diagnostics, and what to do to target problem areas, because no one of us is the same. Every one of us is different. And the most important thing is that we each look at ourselves as individually. There's no one answer for every single lady who goes through the menopause, because you have different stages of it. You have the perimenopause, then you have the 2 years where you transcend or you transition into the full menopause, and then you have postmenopause. And what we don't realize is that postmenopause continues permanently. So we need to have answers throughout that whole period, probably starting from age 35, where the hormones start to change and the balance starts to be a challenge. So let's get started. Most important thing is that there are 5 ways to approach the menopause. When I myself menopaused at age 47, rather young, I realized that we need to approach this as a complete project from A to Z. So we need to be able to know every step of the way where we are, what we're doing, why we are feeling like this, and also what we can do about it. So let's get started. Number 1, diagnostics. We need to diagnose what's going on in our menopause. We need to look at our hormonal balance, both in our blood and a cellular level. We need to know what's going on with our gut, because that's where we also start to process all kinds of other hormones as well, and those influence. We need to look at our DNA, our health DNA, to see if there are any challenges there that need to be considered. And we also need to look at organic acids, the way in which there may be some co-infections which are influencing everything, the way in which we absorb our nutrients. So there's a lot of diagnostics that need to go on before we even start to think, what are we going to do about it? We need to work with a menopause professional, a specialist that can actually take each of your symptoms and look at them individually and start to apply them to the diagnostics. So a full, in-depth medical history, gynecological history, nutritional history needs to be done so that we are able to understand exactly where we are starting. What is the starting block? Where are we starting with all of this in terms of what's been happening and what needs to happen? How are we feeling? What are our goals about how we want to feel? Physically, mentally, psychologically, and biologically. So diagnostics is a big subject, and we're going to go into that individually, one by one, the different testing in a different module or a different workshop, because diagnostics on its own is a subject. But just to know that once we've looked at the bloods and we've looked at our metabolites and we've looked at the gut and we've looked at our DNA, then your menopause specialist will come up with a protocol, a plan. She will or he will look at all the forensics. What is the results of the blood? What are the results of the DNA? How are we metabolizing in the gut? What other kinds of metabolic issues do we have with insulin and cortisol? And how do we apply that to our lifestyle and what's happening within our lifestyle in terms of how we can go about on a path of feeling well, feeling better, and the correct protocol? So that's number 2. Number 2 is what I call forensics. So we need to do the forensics once we have the results of the diagnostics, if that makes sense. Then number 3 is, in fact, applying the protocol. Now, our protocol, the one that I've designed, is in 2 parts. There's a lifestyle part and there's a natural medicine part. Both of those need to be working properly for us to feel better. That's another important thing to know. If you're just taking some medicines and you're not applying a good lifestyle of nutrition, exercise, and stress management, you're not going to get the results. So you've got to apply this on a holistic basis. You've got to look at every aspect and make sure that it's exactly how it needs to be. Otherwise, you're not going to feel well, you're going to put on weight, you're going to feel bloated, your moods are going to be very unstable, and you're going to have all kinds of secondary health conditions as well. So the protocol needs to be right. In the lifestyle section, as I said, it's about nutrition, exercise, and stress management. How stress resilient are you? And then in the natural medicine protocol, that's where the expertise comes in. So the best solution is always to work with bioidentical hormone replacement, but there are many hormones to look at. So besides the estradiol, and which also contains estriol and the progesterone, we need to look at what's happening with your testosterone, with your pregnenolone, with your DHEA, and then we start to get ideas on all of these hormones and their metabolites, what's actually happening and how we need to apply a rebalancing strategy. So this is a very complex step-by-step process that must be assessed by a very experienced professional who understands the complexities of the hormonal transitioning and the hormonal rebalancing and the hormonal interactions with each other. Really, really important. Once that's done and we get started, then the fun begins, because then we can start to review. After 3 weeks initially, we will sit down together, or you'll sit down with your advisor and look at how is it going. Perhaps the medicine dosage is not quite right. Perhaps there's an issue with the lifestyle, the nutrition that's not working the way it should be. Maybe there's sugar being eaten and that's having an effect on insulin, which is then unbalancing all the rebalancing that we're doing. So it's vitally important initially to look every 3 weeks at what's going on. And when things start to stabilize, then we can look at this every 6 weeks and eventually every 3 months. Every 3 months, I think, is a very, very good time to keep reviewing what's going on. It's the ideal time. Sometimes you can go a bit longer, but our hormones will change according to health conditions, life conditions, lifestyle, new stresses in your life. So it needs to be rechecked every time. And then once we're in a very stable pattern, then we're in what I call maintenance and retesting. So then there's an annual test on a quite a high level. Every 3 months, we can just do a basic blood test, but we can re-look at our metabolites and at other areas like the gut or the organic acids that might still be influencing. So the great news is that there's always an answer, there's always a solution, and it's about working through the parameters, doing the diagnostics, doing the forensics, applying the right formulas and protocols, and monitoring and reassessing all the time. And when that happens, you will feel amazing. You will lose the weight. You will have excellent mental clarity. You will feel well. Your body shape will be where you want it to be, and you will be able to operate at your most optimized level of health. So I hope that's been useful, and please feel free to discuss any questions that you have either below or message me direct. But it's been wonderful to talk to you today, and I look forward so much to our next discussion. Bye for now.